waiting room? Oh, we're recording.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Hi, and welcome to the Hunger Free Kids Task Force November convening. We're really grateful that you chose to spend this hour with us. Today, we're going to be focusing on the CACFP at-risk after-school program. And I'm going to just say a little bit about the Hunger Coalition. So our mission here at the San Diego Hunger Coalition and our Hunger Free Kids program is to ensure that all of San Diego's children have access to nutritious meals wherever they live, learn, and play. And we convene these meetings to provide a space for all of us to learn more about policy, advocacy, resources, programs, and to hear from guest speakers, experts, and colleagues, of which we have some esteemed ones on today's agenda. Next slide, please. So we're going to go over the agenda for today. So we have two upcoming webinars we want to share. We want to share San Diego Hunger Coalition State of Hunger that's taking place tomorrow. Friends of the Earth has a webinar taking place later on this week as well, and Nora would like to share. And then we're going to do just a snapshot. The Hunger Coalition is going to provide an overview of the CACFP at-risk after-school program in San Diego County. And then we have Kim Segura from Escondido Elementary talking about their at-risk after-school supper program. Everybody gets a nickel every time I say that. And we have a keynote presentation from our folks at CDSS. So we're going to update on from the state, as well as a discussion on the current state of waivers. So we're going to hear from Staff Services Manager Hardin, Nutrition Education Administrator Elizabeth Moreno, and the CACFP Specialist Monica Ortega. So we've got the hard hitters here, very excited. And then Brianna at Feeding San Diego is going to talk about an innovative supper partnership opportunity for anyone that may be a little bit underwater with staffing shortages. There is opportunities to partner with Feeding San Diego, which is really exciting. And then Ashley and I would like to talk to you about Hunger Free Kids Task Force in 2022 and what the vision is, what you would like to see, hear, or learn with us. So that is today's agenda. It is jam-packed with awesomeness. Next slide, please. All right, so the third annual State of Hunger is tomorrow. And the third annual State of Hunger is a chance for the Hunger Coalition to talk about the state of hunger, specifically in our region of San Diego County. So please join us tomorrow, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 12. It's going to be really great. We've been working very hard on it. We're going to drop the link in the chat if you would like to click on there and register. The event does cost $25, but that $25 is well spent. It goes toward, that funding goes towards, all the programs we do, specifically Hunger Free Kids and the task force funded from donations from individual donors and large grant opportunities or small grants and people who invest in the Hunger Coalition. I would like to thank anyone who's invested in the Hunger Coalition lately. We have a very exciting announcement, and that we were able to bring on a Hunger Free Kid coordinator to our team. You know her, you get emails from her, and she is just fabulous. So Ashley Jesnak has been hired as the Hunger Free Kids coordinator. So we've grown our team to continue supporting this amazing work that we're all doing. So be sure to congratulate Ashley in the chat. And we know that we could not do this work without her. So thank you and congratulations, Ashley. This is her she's starting her second week with us. So very excited. All right, so next up, we're gonna kick it over to Nora from Friends of the Earth. And I believe we all know Nora from previous roles. So it's good to have you back, Nora. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to see such friendly and amazing faces that I know here on the call. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nora Stewart, and I now work with Friends of the Earth, but I was formerly working with CHIPS Farm to Institution Center. But I've moved into this role with Friends of the Earth really to help school food service directors with shifting to more climate-friendly school food. Amanda, you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so, and I specifically work on their food and agriculture program to really rapidly transform our food system to one that is sustainable, healthy, and just. And again, I specifically work with K through 12 school food service directors to really see how we can shift their purchasing dollars to support more local farmers and also consumption of healthier, plant-forward, sustainable food. Next slide. So I'm keeping this really short. I'm to the point. I really just wanted to share this great opportunity with all of you. We have heard a lot from school districts the past couple of months about the supply chain challenges that they're experiencing right now, a lot of supply chain shortages. And we've kind of noticed a pattern that with school districts that are sourcing more local, they're experiencing a lot less challenges. And so we got together as a team to see like, how can we, pull different suppliers and producers that we know are really reliable and have supply and can work with school districts right now, and how can we pull them onto a call and really share more opportunities there. So we are hosting a webinar this upcoming Wednesday. It's really soon. So it's going to be at 2 o'clock, and we're going to have lunch assist on the call. We're going to have a school district kind of share their story, but then we're also going to be featuring some suppliers and producers and just having a conversation about like who is actually available to help support school districts. We have found some suppliers that even offer discounted rates and benefits for school districts. So really like hoping to get into the how piece, not just the why, but really like getting into the nitty-gritty details of like let's actually move purchasing and shift it to more local and organic. So we're going to be focusing the webinar there, and there should be some awesome speakers. So I hope that you can attend. I'm going to drop the registration into the chat. So if you haven't registered for that webinar, we would love to have you. And I already see like Sally, and I think Sally's going to be on the call. She'll be presenting with Lunch Assist, and so there will be some San Diego representation on this call, which is great. And then next slide, Amanda. And then lastly, we have some different school district case studies. We actually just came out. One of the things that we like to do is just kind of, showcase like who's doing a really great job around climate-friendly school food right now. And we've been working with San Luis Coastal on their Thai basil lentil burger. It's a super delicious, yummy lentil burger that's super popular with students. And it saves 16 times the amount of carbon than a regular burger. So there's a huge climate benefit, really popular with students. And I'm just going to drop that really inspiring story into the chat if anyone wants to check that out. The recipe is posted here, as well as like a lentil postcard in case you want to download lentil postcards. And of course, I'll also drop my contact information if you want to implement this recipe or get more plant-based recipes for your school district. We can definitely work with you. But definitely, I would recommend checking out that webinar because we're going to have a lot of really good opportunities presented there. So thanks. Thanks, Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nora. That's such a great opportunity to be able to share with everybody today. And then we'd like to start diving into all things CACFP, at-risk after school in particular. And before we hear from everybody else, we wanted to just provide a quick snapshot of what's going on in San Diego County. So our data is up to date as of October 2021. So currently, San Diego County has 437 CACFP at-risk after-school sites. That's amazing. That is so many kids getting fed, getting supper after school. So props to all of you. And what that looks like is we have 29 sponsors. 18 of those are school districts. 11 of those are community organizations. And while obviously this is a huge success, there's always room for growth. So we do see some opportunity to further take advantage of these programs, meaning bringing in additional federal dollars. So right now where we see the opportunity is we have 8 school districts that are FRPM eligible, but not yet sponsors. And we do have a school district that is a sponsor, but not yet operating. So numbers wise, what that really looks like is about an estimated of 92 sites with opportunity to feed more kids. Obviously, we know this year has been very challenging, more than any year really has been before. So we're just really here to offer how to expand this program, offer support, and bring opportunities that we'll be hearing about later on in this presentation. But next, we would love to hear from the upcoming birthday girl. Her birthday is tomorrow.
You guys.
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
Man.
Ah, Kim, happy birthday.
Stop. Okay. So this is like my first time doing this, so please be patient with me. I'm Kim from Escondido Union School District, and this is about all things CACFP. I wanted to talk about just CACFP, but this school year it's so different from any other school year because CACFP is a separate program. It's usually done like after school with at-risk only, students where you have, teaching or tutoring going on at the same time. But this year's kind of different. So the information that I'm going to be presenting is kind of encompassing the whole program. That was the only way I could really help everyone understand what we do on a day-to-day basis. So next slide, please. So how we got started, we started at the beginning of the school year because it was really important to present to the cabinet what the service model would look like to see if they felt that it'd benefit all students, because it's really important with the people in our cabinet that we're able to reach everyone equally and be able to help as many students as we can with our program. We had to include an opportunity for the online learning students to access meals as well, because I think that's where a lot of districts are going to go, at least have a portion of their district is going to be a lot of online because of COVID. I think that's something that's here to stay. So we have to figure out a way to touch those kids and make sure that they're being taken care of as well. The sites had to get into a rhythm of what they needed to do. They had to get used to the process and what worked best for their site, from ordering from vendors to distribution points on their campus, because every campus in size and the number of students are all different. And then families know what to expect. The thing with families, it's helpful when they know what to expect because it provides some continuity during the uncertain times. That's what the biggest experience that we've gotten through all the ups and downs of COVID is that the families had to have some continuity. I've always prided our department in the fact that we try everything to stay consistent throughout the school year. Next slide, please. And then some of the benefits are that the students eat at no cost. With the seamless summer option part of the program, we are able to feed all the students at no cost, no matter what their eligibility, including CACFP. The area eligibility waivers allowed us to reach food insecure students who attend a school that would not normally qualify for supper. So during a regular school year and including this year, we have 16 sites that do have after school programs that we do serve an active hot meal usually or cold meal to them daily while they're still in school at the end of the day. And then there's also the non-congregate feeding waiver allowed grab and go meals. So grab and go breakfast and supper are distributed at 2 exit points at all sites. The non-congregate feeding waiver allowed those grab and go meals. And then we're serving more meals per day. We serve approximately 7,183 suppers daily with a combined meal service of 24,825 breakfast, lunch, and suppers daily. And we've earned just for the month of August and for supper alone, because during COVID, we weren't able to serve as many students that we, because of the and trying to make that work through a car line was not, it seemed impossible to us. So we lost about 3 million that purchase the additional equipment needed to replace old equipment and then to effectively serve our students. Next slide. Yes, and it was for August and September because we haven't done any claims for October yet. I was answering one of the questions in the, okay. Challenges. Storing product to serve 2 meals every day to their entire student body. Additional equipment had to be purchased and some sites had to change the way they received their product from the warehouse. Supply chain issues. Oftentimes our buyers ordering certain number of cases of food and, we can order 100 cases and sometimes only 25 come in. So we have to modify our menu or, make do with what we have. Waste. This was a big thing too, especially with supper. Like some of the students will sometimes just pull out the item they like on their way out of the gate and throw the rest into the trash can. And that was really disheartening to our employees because they put so much work into that. And that's like putting money straight into the trash can. So we home and they actively waited at the exit points with other administrators just to encourage kids to take their food home. Shortages, like most businesses, we've experienced our share of staffing shortages and our sites make do with the staff that they have, utilizing their regular employees, using extra time. Next slide. So why is it important? I think we've had this unprecedented opportunity. Students. And this also might increase participation in breakfast, once we go back to the on-campus model. And there might be more kids that stay in the after-school enrichment programs next year because parents have got to experience firsthand what we have to offer. We reach those not normally benefiting from the program throughout the whole district. And food insecurity is important. We are able to reach those because I think job loss and food insecurity are still prevalent. So we need to continue to do our part to make sure that those kids that don't have resources at home will at least have supper for the evening and breakfast for the next day. And then finally, next slide. So challenges have been met with positive energy. Our employees have experienced some burnout because they have worked for the last 20+ months under tough conditions. But by management listening to their suggestions, we've made it tolerable for them to move forward in their jobs daily. We're really looking forward to getting back to normal. Hopefully in the near future, we can get back to some normalcy, whatever that may look like. But together we have persevered through the toughest year ever and we survived. We continued to feed the kids every possible chance we had and will continue to do so. And that's it. That's all I got.
Fabulous, Kim. Thank you so much for sharing. Are you open to see if anyone has any questions for you?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions for Kim?
I was wondering how you were handling the milk, Kim.
The milk as far as,
A lot of
in which sense? And we put them in each.
A lot of times people have said that's the main thing that the kids are wasting. So I wondered if that was part of your waste reduction plan.
I think the majority of the waste that we saw was when they would just take the chocolate, I shouldn't call it chocolate, the breakfast bar out. They would take the breakfast bar out and then they would just dump the whole bag. Or while they're waiting for their parents, they would drink their juice and eat the breakfast bar and then put the rest of the bag or leave the bag there. So I think there just had to be some proactive talking to the kids, how important it is for them to take the whole meal home with them.
Thank you. Any other questions?
How many, see some in the chat, how many students in schools in our district? I believe we have nearly I want to say 15,000, but not quite. I say that last time I saw was 14,000 students, a little over. And we have 23 schools. in our school district. And then I guess I'll just type in the messages here to answer the other questions so we can move on. I don't want to take up
Sure.
too much time.
Thank you.
Thank
You're off the hot seat. You can now go celebrate your birthday. Good job. Good job. All right. All right, now we're ready for our keynote presentation. We have the crew from CDSS here to give us a state update and a waiver discussion. So as we mentioned in the upfront, we have Staff Services Manager Sean Hardin, Nutrition Education Administrator Elizabeth Moreno, and CACFP Specialist Monica Ortega. So take it away, CDSS team.
Well, thank you very much. And, first, happy birthday, Kim. I put in the chat, my parents actually went to Kim's, the high school in Escondido. So every time I see that name, I think of my parents. So, welcome the CDSS to this great opportunity with the San Diego Hunger Coalition. As we are moving forward, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the transition, one of the things that when we found out that we were going, hold on, sorry. Am I unmuted? Okay, I wasn't sure. I was looking at something. So one of the things that we talked about when we learned of the transition to the Department of Social Services from the Department of Education was that we really wanted to enhance the CACFP program. Prior to the transition, really, it was always kind of in the shadow of school nutrition programs. And so with this move, there really is a fantastic opportunity for us to re-examine CACFP, how we operate CACFP in California, but also how we're doing our outreach. And so the San Diego Hunger Coalition, you really are one of those, groups that we want to work cooperatively with going into the future. So thank you again for inviting us. Next slide. So on the next slide, you'll see our organizational chart. So when we moved July 1st, we are now focused exclusively on CACFP. So to begin at the very top, Jennifer Hernandez, she's our Deputy Director. So we are in the Family Empowerment and Engagement Division. Did I get the E's mixed up? But it's the feed division. And so underneath her is the CEA, which is still vacant. So we have a few vacancies left, and starting from the left over to the right. So we should have a new Staff Services Manager 3. I believe it'll be December 1st that we'll be filling that vacancy. Don't know who that is, but looking forward to filling one of the vacancies in there. And as you can see underneath, what we have that's pretty much our compliance side. So if you have compliance questions, we have 2 CNS2s. One is vacant. The other one is Gail Anderson. And many of you probably know Gail. She's been working in the CACFP program for a very long time. And I believe she was also our Southern representative. And then in our program integrity unit, we have Kathy Hardin, no relation. And I get that a lot. So I've learned just to put that right afterwards. But, Kathy is our program integrity unit. So, she's the one, her unit will probably be the ones that are corresponding with you after any of the ARs, just to close things out with you. Then the next one, and we're really happy because Elizabeth Moreno is our administrator, but we wanted, again, that kind of makeover that we wanted to look at. So we went from EMPU to what we call NETS. So now they're Nutrition Education and Training section. So we really wanted to kind of emphasize the fact that, we're looking at a very proactive approach, trying to help and train our sponsors so that you guys can be successful. And the more successful you are, the easier it is to grow the program and to probably bring in people to help train them to essentially make the program a lot more financially solid, as it's operationally. Then third is me. So I'm the Staff Service Manager 2 over the Community Nutrition Program section. So what this section does is it deals with all the programs. So if you are somebody that wants to come onto the program, you would contact us. We do all the onboarding. And a sub note to that is that I know that we had a moratorium as we were going through the transition to a moratorium on new sponsors, but that moratorium has been lifted. So we are now going through our backlog of all of our new applicants. And if you know any of the new applicants, just let them know that we are going through the process, kind of the first in, first out, and we're trying to make sure that we contact everybody as quickly as possible. Also, we're the ones that do your annual updates. So I'm sure a lot of every sponsor should have been working with our county analysts like Monica and getting their applications all updated and ready for the new year. We have another unit that's brand new, and we call it CPU. So it's the Community Procurement Unit. And Natalia Calderon is going to be the manager over that. A couple of things were like, I noted that there was a lot of procurement sort of questions, supply chain issues, that kind of stuff, that Natalia's unit and Natalia, they would be designed to help you. So the whole reason in creating that and placing it underneath my section is the intent that it's purely there for policy guidance and technical assistance. It's not there to do any sort of compliance activity. So we really wanted to design a unit for procurement because procurement can get so difficult. And, there's so many little nuances to it that we wanted a unit that, people, our sponsors could trust to just have those honest conversations so that we can move forward into, getting things correct. Because ultimately that's all that unit is really designed for. Next slide. Oh, so the waiver summary. I've been in this program for 7 years. I don't ever recall really seeing waivers popping up. And I think we're up to 106 waivers over the past 20 months, which really, is incredible. And I have to give my, I have to tip my hat to USDA going through the waiver process. To be honest, they have to go through their general counsel. They have to do research, make sure they have authority. To get 106 out, that was very impressive. But equally impressive, and probably way more so, is all of our sponsors. You're the ones that are utilizing these waivers. You're the ones that are letting us know if there's issues with your waivers. And really, you're the ones that are out there, feeding the children. And and I can't say how impressed I am that, it takes a certain level of courage during a pandemic to be out there, to be serving the children. And, and that kind of courage, that kind of sacrifice is just simply impressive. And, again, I have the deepest of respect for everyone. But we do have all these waivers, back to the waivers. And we, if you see we do have our COVID-19 guidance. So all of our COVID-19 guidance, actually all of our web pages, to be honest, are still at CDE. We're in the process of trying to migrate them over. So you'll see the CDE's COVID-19 guidance. So don't be alarmed or confused if you see that's through CDE. It's still updated, it's still current. It's just that we need time to be able to migrate all of our web pages over. We did allow for everyone to opt into that new batch of waivers, and I know Monica will be discussing them on June 30th of this year, and all the waivers go through June 30th, 2022, I believe. I'm trying now to recall. Originally, we were going to have this opt-in be that, we're going to do it in stages because the guidance that came from USDA really was about, well, as needed. They truly did hope that things were going to be getting back to normal. And so they wanted these waivers to kind of be utilized under the assumption that people were moving back to normal. But as the past few months have taught us, is normalcy is still a little bit off. And so we had also mirrored what USDA's intentions were, but now we're not requiring the new opt-ins. So if you had opted in already, you're already opted in and you go till June 30th. We still would ask that if you can, move closer to normal in the next calendar year, please do so, but just know that you do have all that coverage available to you. And then also we know about the problems with supply chains, and CDSS, even and CDE, we all acknowledge that this is providing difficulties for our sponsors. So to that end, we do understand that if you do have supply chain issues, there are certain flexibilities that are built into the regulations to begin with. And one is called non-competitive procurement. So if you have an emergency, if and one of the things that we've heard is like milk can sometimes be hard to procure, that if you need to immediately go to a new vendor to get your milk, it can be done under the non-competitive procurement. But what we would ask for you is just, documentation, that vendor said they couldn't provide milk, you needed to go to someone else. I mean, something as simple as that. We are very cognizant of all the issues that are going on. And so, and again, Natalia's unit, they're there to help answer questions. And what I'll do is I'll give you Natalia's direct email so that you can blow up her email box with as many questions as you want. And with that, I will now turn it over to Monica.
Hey, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Monica. I think there was a misspelling of my last name. It's actually Ortega with an A, not an O, but no biggie. So I'll go ahead and start just to get the ball rolling, because I think the majority of our operators are actually anxious, or participants are anxious to ask questions and get a little bit of clarification. So I'll go ahead. If we can move on to the next slide, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so the nationwide waiver to allow non-congregate meal service allows consumption of meals off-site and outside group settings. It also allows meal pickup options for participants learning virtually, facilitates grab-and-go meals for students in school, and home meal delivery service. Prior to initiating this last flexibility, operators must first obtain written consent from households of eligible children or participating adults. And this waiver is available through June 30th of 2022. Next slide, please. The nationwide waiver of meal service time requirements allows operators to provide meals outside of the prescribed meal service time requirements. This waiver is also available through June 30th of 2022. And the nationwide waiver to allow parents or guardians to pick up meals for children allows operators to distribute meals to a parent or guardian to take home to the participant. Prior to initiating this flexibility, the operator must be approved for the waiver, have a written integrity plan, retain accurate records of the meals served under this waiver, and at the end of this public health emergency, operators must be prepared to provide the California Department of Social Services with any necessary information to complete the reporting requirements. And this waiver is also available through June 30th of 2022. So now I'm going to pass it on to Elizabeth for the next couple of slides, and then I'll be back.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks again for inviting us. Again, my name is Elizabeth Moreno. So my team focuses on the meal pattern, any nutrition training and nutrition policy guidance. And so one of the things my team is involved in is the particular waiver for the meal pattern flexibility. So that is Child Nutrition Response number 91. And this year, so starting in July of this year through June of next year, as Sean and Monica mentioned, you have the ability to waive 3 particular requirements related to the meal pattern. And so they include at least one of your servings per day has to, across all eating occasions, must be whole grain rich. So if you're having a particular requirement, you can complete the meal pattern waiver to have that requirement waived. The second option is that the crediting of grains by ounce equivalents must be fully implemented by October 1st of 2021. So this is the last kind of phased in piece of the new meal pattern from 2017 is this whole issue of crediting grains using ounce equivalents. And I think a lot of folks feel a little daunting, or they feel like they just don't understand what that truly means. I know school districts have been doing, through the National School Lunch School Breakfast Program, have been doing this since 2012, I believe, but it's new for CACFP. So my team has done some training, and we're certainly willing to provide additional guidance as we can, but if you feel that you have had issues with either training your own staff or actually fully getting this off the ground, this is another option that USDA has created that you can have waived. So you would not need to be crediting grains using ounce equivalents this school year if you so have issues and are unable to do so. And then the third and final meal pattern flexibility is regarding low-fat milk that must be unflavored. So if you're having issues with the unflavored low-fat milk, this could also be something you could fill out a meal pattern waiver application to have that requirement waived. Okay, next slide. Thanks. And so as we were mentioning earlier, that all of the waivers that we're going to be talking to about, we're kind of doing them in numerical order here, but the meal pattern waiver specifically has a separate kind of a little bit more information that's collected because USDA did want us to gather kind of on a case-by-case basis who we were allowing to have requirements for meal pattern waived. Of course, they would love everyone to meet the nutrition standards as best you can and to the best of your ability, but things such as the supply chain issues and many other kind of layered things, I think even staffing and just, you know, many different challenges that it's very, very hard. And so they have allowed, obviously, these targeted, so this school year, it's just these 3 options for the meal pattern that can be waived. As we've mentioned, the Department of Education still has, it's kind of the huge hub for all of the COVID-19 guidance for child nutrition programs. So this is where you'll find all of the information on these waivers. And we can maybe drop that in the chat too, so people have the direct link in the chat if that would help. And so on the CACFP tab of that particular webpage, you can find out all of this information about the waivers and also links to the specific waiver for the meal pattern, which is a separate application. Okay, next slide, thanks. So just a few kind of I guess the process, I think people are confused kind of with what happens when you submit a meal pattern waiver. So that you're understanding, we have a system that automatically kind of spits out an email to you, just confirming that your submission of the application has been received. And then we are, as a state agency, we are responsible for actually reviewing it to ensure that we have enough information to justify that a meal pattern waiver should be granted. So within 2 business days of your initial submission, you will receive either an email from our team saying, yes, you've got approval to waive those 1, 2, or 3 different options there from the meal pattern, or we may need to ask you a few more questions just to ensure that we're clear on the justifications you've provided. So that's kind of the general approval process for the meal pattern flexibility, meal pattern waiver. Next slide. So a few tips, because we've seen a variety of things, and we always just want to help people as best we can and be as easy on you to complete and make sure that you're receiving the waiver that you need. So just making sure that you're checking the box for each waiver. So for the meal pattern waiver, there's those 3 requirements that you have the option to waive. So you can select 1, 2, or all 3 of them if that you have justification to do so. Really important, since we do read each justification, that you make it very unique and very specific to your agency. So general statements or kind of template language for something is really not what we're looking for. We're really looking for how the justification for your particular agency and your situation. We do have instances where we find people wanting to waive fruits and vegetables or some other categories that are not one of those 3. So make sure you're reading through. There's only those 3 requirements that can be waived. And so we don't have the ability, as we did last year, to be more broad in waiving things like fruits or vegetables or some other categories. So just so that you know, we're not, we don't have a magic wand, and we're not the USDA that can kind of change what they've developed as the actual waiver. So I just want people to be clear on that. And you'll be asked a little bit of little narrative area to write your justification as to why you feel you need a waiver for that particular item. And don't forget to submit or to actually press submit at the end of the waiver application. Sometimes people skip over that last step and then it doesn't get actually delivered to us. So we don't have record that you have submitted one. Okay. All right, I believe that's most of the information we wanted to share on the meal pattern waiver. So I'll send it back over to Monica to talk about a few more waivers for you.
Yes, so I'll go ahead and continue. So the nationwide waiver of area eligibility and after-school programs and family daycare home allows schools, regardless of their location, to claim all after-school snacks at the free rate. It allows at-risk after-school care centers, regardless of their location, to apply to participate in the CACFP and claim all meals and snacks at the free rate. Although the majority of our participants are at risk, I'm going to be covering in regards to daycare homes, just because. So this particular waiver also allows all daycare homes, regardless of their location, to receive the Tier 1 rate for all meals and snacks served to enrolled children. And although the waiver does not automatically allow daycare home providers to claim at the Tier 1 rate for their own children, payment may be made for meals served to the provider's own children when the following criteria is met. Such children are enrolled and participating in the child care program during the time of the meal service. Enrolled non-resident children are present and participating in the child care program, and the provider's own children are eligible to receive free or reduced price meals. And for more information regarding this particular waiver, we do have the link to the USDA memo SP15, CACFP 13, SFSP 08, 2011. And this waiver is available through June 30th of 2022. So the nationwide waiver of on-site monitoring requirements for state agencies allows state agencies, meaning us, our active field service consultants, especially the ones like, for example, our existing operators have a great relationship with our CNCs who are fabulous. So it allows, to the maximum extent possible, to continue monitoring activities of program operations offsite by means of a desk audit. And this waiver remains in effect until 30 days after the end of the public health emergency. Okay, so the last slide that I'll be presenting is the nationwide waiver of on-site monitoring requirements for sponsors, meaning our active operators in the CACFP. So this waiver allows our operators to continue their monitoring activities of program operations offsite by means of a desk audit. And similar to the previous waiver, this waiver remains in effect until 30 days after the end of the public health emergency. And now I'm going to give it back to Elizabeth.
Okay, thanks, Monica. So just to summarize a little bit about the waiver submissions, again, that if you want to enroll in any of the waivers we've discussed today, that you actually have to, if you want to participate, I should say, you have to enroll in them. Again, the Department of Education's main website is where all of this information is housed. So that is the CDE COVID-19 guidance in the Child Nutrition Program's webpage. So we'll drop that link also in the chat so that you have that. And also a written integrity plan is required for the waivers 87, 88, 89, 91, and 96 that Monica has reviewed with you as well. And then the final slide, I believe, is just to make sure that you have any contact information that you need if you've got questions. So generally speaking, on the CACFP waivers, there's a list, as you know, of the CACFP analysts or specialists in your county. So we have that in the download forms section of the Child Nutrition Information and Payment System that are known as CNIPS. If you have specific questions on the meal pattern waiver, my team also looks at a group email, which is the CACFP MPW, standing for Meal Pattern Waiver. And then that's at the DSS, so Department of Social Services, .ca.gov. And then finally, if you have any questions related to compliance, administrative review questions, again, in the download section of CNIPS is the Field Services Unit's Child Nutrition Consultants listing by county. So hopefully you'll be able to find, if you don't already know, who your CNC is, your Child Nutrition Consultant. Okay, and I believe that was our final slide. So if we, any of you have any questions, we are happy to entertain as many as we can and have time for. So I'll look at the time here, make sure we don't go over our allotted time. But people can feel free to unmute, or I believe just add questions in the chat if that'll work. Okay.